The cobblestone streets of Sulphur, Louisiana stretched out beneath a colorless sky, their surfaces slick from an earlier drizzle. Street lamps, feeble sentinels in the somber gloaming, cast shimmering halos on the glistening stones. Harper Knox, a monolith against this melancholic tableau, walked in silence, his steel-toed boots rhythmically crunching on the gravel. His face, hewn from years of struggle and resilience, bore a stoic tranquility. A hint of a faded scar peeked from under his stubble, like a watermark from a bygone catastrophe. His storm-gray eyes held stories deeper and darker than the rain clouds that perpetually hovered over the town, a silent testament to the flood he had survived years ago. Each step he took echoed through the hushed town, a town that was a shadow of its former, vibrant self. Its buildings, once adorned with vibrant signs and filled with life, now bore the unmistakable etchings of slow decay and neglect. It mirrored Harper's battle, his journey from the flood to the emotional turmoil he constantly wrestled. The floodwaters had receded, but the torrent within him was a relentless foe, an addiction that threatened to submerge him once and again. A dimly lit tavern beckoned him from across the street, its neon sign flickering like an uncertain lighthouse. He stood on the edge of the sidewalk, peering into the semi-darkness, his figure a lone silhouette against the backdrop of a town shrouded in secrets and apprehension. The seductive lull of alcohol whispered in his ears, but he shook his head, his resolve stealing his spirit. He had a greater battle to wage. A sudden gust of wind stirred the skeletal branches of the trees, their bare limbs scraping against each other in a mournful symphony. He pulled his collar up and stepped into the alleyway, the cobblestones cold beneath him. The tang of moss and damp earth filled the air as he traced the labyrinthine streets. His destination loomed ahead, the sulphurous glow of neon seeping out from behind heavy velvet curtains. The Sulphur Siren. Inside the nightclub, a languid jazz melody wafted through the smoky air, tangling with the scent of cheap perfume and stale beer. He slipped into a corner booth, the aged leather creaking under his weight. A waitress, her eyes rimmed with kohl and a forced smile on her lips, sauntered over. He ordered a club soda, his gaze never leaving the strange tableau that unfolded in front of him. He raised his glass in a silent toast to the city of Sulphur, to drowned memories, and to the shadows that danced in the corners of the Sulphur Siren. In the throbbing heart of the Sulphur Siren, Harper Knox was a silent observer, his presence an island of calm amidst a roiling sea of hedonistic patrons. The music ebbed and flowed, the rhythm a pulsating entity in itself, twining around the collective psyche of the club's occupants. It was a siren song, drawing him deeper into the investigation, and perhaps into something more arcane and terrifying. Dancers swirled on the floor like human shadows under the sickly neon glow, their movements a blend of grace and desperation. Through the haze of smoke and spirits, his gaze focused on one figure in particular, standing atop the dance floor's podium, the club's enigmatic owner, Vic. Vic was a silhouette of charismatic allure, cloaked in an allure as intoxicating as the spirits he served. His eyes held a penetrating gaze, a silent authority that lingered like an echo in the corners of the club. Yet beneath this magnetism, Harper could sense a disquieting undertone, a dread that prickled at his subconscious. Seated at the bar, he began a conversation with a weathered bartender, his deep-set eyes mirroring a life spent in the spectral glow of the neon. "Vic seems quite the charmer," he ventured, trying to glean some information. The bartender only grunted, a non-committal sound drowned by the pulsating bass line. Harper persisted, asking about the smuggling ring and its ties to the club. But the questions hung heavy in the air, met only with the bartender's stony silence. As the nights bled into one another, he became a frequent face in the club. He watched, he listened, he nursed countless glasses of club soda, the sugary tang of the drink, a poor replacement for the burn of bourbon he craved. His pursuit of information was a gradual process, akin to peeling layers off an onion, each layer revealing another, equally impenetrable. Yet there were moments when he thought he caught glimpses of something darker, something otherworldly behind the veneer of criminal activity. The shadow that had lingered on the periphery of his senses seemed to grow more pronounced, an ephemeral dance of dread that was both fascinating and terrifying. One such night, he noticed a strange symbol etched under the bar counter. The cryptic etching appeared like a spider web, or perhaps a constellation unknown to him, pulsating faintly under the neon lights. A chill skated down his spine. The symbol seemed familiar, yet it was unlike anything he had encountered before. A sense of disquiet, subtle and sinewy, wormed its way into his consciousness. He was a seasoned detective, used to the grimy underbelly of human vices. But this felt different. There was a primordial fear that gnawed at his gut, a sense of abhorrent wrongness that clung to the symbol. He didn't know it then, but this was his first encounter with the terrifying reality that lurked beneath the surface. He left the club, the rhythmic thump of music growing faint as he ventured into the cool night. The symbol continued to flicker in his mind's eye, a disturbing beacon that promised a journey not just through the shadowy realm of smuggling, but also towards an unimaginable terror. The shadow dance had begun, the prelude to a symphony of cosmic horror that awaited him in the depths of Sulphur. As the days rolled by in a languorous haze, Harper found himself increasingly drawn into the belly of the beast, the Sulphur Siren. The once familiar jazz tunes now echoed with a sinister undertone, a dirge to his sanity as he plunged deeper into the mystery. His dreams were haunted by the symbol, an alien hieroglyph that seemed to bleed into his reality, staining his waking moments with an unshakable dread. He began to notice other symbols hidden within the club, scrawled surreptitiously in the bathroom stalls or concealed behind peeling wallpaper. Each symbol was distinct, yet they all shared an unsettling quality, a kinship with the abominable. The shadows that once danced on the edge of his vision had coalesced into an oppressive shroud, a palpable dread that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the nightclub. The patrons around him, once mere faces in the crowd, now seemed like cogs in a vast, unseen machine. Their laughter rang hollow, their movements robotic, a choreographed dance steeped in dread. He began to see Vic in a new light, the enigmatic charm replaced by an aura of creeping horror. He had unearthed a clandestine world that thrived beneath the normalcy of the club, a realm of the occult that was as fascinating as it was horrifying. He met an eccentric informant, an elderly woman named Eunice. A local historian and a self-proclaimed occult enthusiast, Eunice was a fountain of knowledge that he hadn't known he needed. Over cups of bitter coffee in a rundown diner, she spoke of ancient cults, of forbidden rituals and cosmic deities. Words of elder gods slipped from her lips, filling the air with a weighty chill. The conversation seemed surreal, like listening to an eerie bedtime story. Yet he couldn't ignore the parallels between Eunice's tales and his experiences at the club, the symbols, the strange behavior, and the unnameable dread. It all pointed towards an unfathomable reality, a cosmic horror that threatened to eclipse his understanding of the world. And then Eunice revealed a shocking piece of information. Vic was a known devotee of a clandestine cult, a group dedicated to ancient, cosmic entities. Harper felt a chill run down his spine. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, forming a picture too monstrous to comprehend fully. He walked away from the diner, his mind teeming with impossible theories. The echo of Eunice's words seemed to meld with the whisper of the wind, the rustling of leaves sounding like arcane incantations. The symbol had been just the beginning, a gateway into an unknown so profound it threatened to shatter his sanity. His reality was folding onto itself, replaced by the grotesque canvas of the cosmic horror unfolding before him. As he moved towards the Sulphur Siren, he felt like a moth drawn to a flame, the pull of the unknown too strong to resist. Unseen dangers loomed in the shadows, but he was determined to face them. As the veil of Sulphur's reality began to thin, Harper found himself treading an ethereal tightrope. Each step he took into the Sulphur Siren echoed in the cavernous unknown he had uncovered. The club, once a den of earthly vices, had metamorphosed into an altar of cosmic horror. The neon glow that once colored the establishment now appeared sinister, casting ghastly shadows that seemed to pulsate with the rhythm of the unfathomable. The symbols etched in the recesses of the club no longer hid in the shadows. They sneered at him from the walls, the floor, a mocking testament to his descent into the abyss. Vic, the enigmatic puppeteer, stood amidst the surreal spectacle, his features twisted into an eerie smile. A series of rituals unfolded, a grotesque performance that made the jazz band's swan song appear mundane. The patrons danced, their movements forming bizarre patterns, their laughter morphing into chants that clawed at the edges of Harper's sanity. He found himself standing on the threshold of something too vast and terrible to comprehend fully. A realization swept over him, a tidal wave of cosmic dread. He had not just been investigating human corruption, but meddling with forces that transcended the earthly realm. He was a speck of dust caught in a cosmic whirlwind, an insignificant pawn in a game of gods. It was during the climactic ritual, amidst the deafening chants and swirling figures, that he managed to break free. The details were hazy, his escape a dizzying blur. He remembered running, the roar of the cosmic storm filling his ears, the terror propelling him through the labyrinthine streets of Sulphur. As he stumbled out of the town, he left behind not just the club and its monstrous secret, but a part of himself. The trauma of his past, his struggle with addiction, they were footnotes in his life now, dwarfed by the cosmic horror that had been revealed to him. His battle against alcohol seemed almost comforting in its humanity, a tether to his old life. He had emerged a survivor, but his escape was not a victory, but a reprieve. He bore the knowledge of the cosmic entities, an eternal brand searing his psyche. He could leave Sulphur, but he could never leave behind the terrifying reality he had uncovered. The world had forever changed for him. He was now a dweller on the threshold, a perpetual witness to the cosmic horrors that lurked in the fabric of existence. He stood on the outskirts of Sulphur, looking back at the distant neon glow of the Sulphur Siren. His past and future, his fears and ambitions, all felt insignificant under the crushing weight of the cosmic truth. He carried the rift within him, the eerie echo of the cosmic dance forever etched in his being. As the dawn broke, he turned his back to Sulphur, a silhouette against the rising sun. He was not the same man who had walked into the town, but a cosmic voyager who had peeked behind reality's veil, forever haunted by the dance of the shadows and the whisper of the unknown. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, show your support with a like and subscribe, and stay notified by hitting the bell icon. Expect more cosmic horror from Eldritch Tales Factory, and feel free to explore our other stories. See you in the next video.